you want to bring up the Mount Rushmore thing?
Yeah, let's do that. That'd be fun. Rob, you want to start us off with like your personal favorites of all time?
Is Mount Rushmore 4 or 5?
4.
It's 4. All right,
4.
so you got to choose
so
4.
4 guys who are just like your all-time favorite, like from the time that you were a kid till now. You personally.
Yeah.
Me personally.
You personally.
Yeah.
Well, 3 of them are right here.
Okay,
For sure.
Call it out.
We got Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was my first and foremost as a kid. I was a Hulkamaniac.
Brother.
Just like everybody else. I fucking loved Hulk Hogan. He was my hero. I did love Randy Savage because of his Step Into a Slim Jim commercials and his, it's just his whole demeanor. I absolutely loved him.
Yeah, how could you not, right?
Sergeant Slaughter was somebody I got into when I was around 8 or 9. When I discovered my brother's G.I. Joe collection, Sergeant Slaughter was one of the figures, and then I realized that he was a wrestler too. So he was really like my favorite G.I. Joe.
Wow.
And then became one of my favorite wrestlers because then I started watching, like when they came out with the WWE Network initially, I was starting to watch a lot of his old matches on there. I YouTubed them before they created the network, and then they started shutting down a lot of those wrestling matches on YouTube because they were putting out their own streaming service.
I just want to mention, I never got to enjoy Sergeant Slaughter. I've always just known him as like the commissioner, like in the Austin era, that would come out, or like with DX when they did
windshield
the skit
wipers.
with the windshield wipers.
Yep.
That's all I ever really knew him as, was like that authority figure.
He was great. He was just like ahead of the curve as far as like a character at the time.
And he was right in like the early days, like when it was really getting like big, because he wrestled for one of the independent
AWA,
and then they brought him in, and then he went with, and he has one of the coolest stories too, because I mean he was one of the first wrestlers that successfully left wrestling and had a career outside of wrestling. I mean, he came back ultimately, but he was the first real person to be a G.I. Joe, and that made him a whole. Like that probably put him higher up in fame in the 80s than he ever would have had staying with wrestling. Because Hacksaw Jim Duggan's cool, but like that's probably the height that he would have hit in the WWF at the time. Going with the Real American Hero thing put him on commercials. He was getting as much airtime as Hulk Hogan, who was the top dog in the WWF at the time. And he kept that status for a very long time. Now, as far as my 4th member goes, it's tough because you can easily go with Andre. I mean, I could just say that this is my Mount Rushmore right here because Andre the Giant was one of the most legendary figures in wrestling history. But as far as personal favorites, it's tough. It's really tough. I want to say like Bruno Sammartino. I want to say, because he's, he was like the quintessential Italian-American wrestler. Like he
has a great story too. I definitely would recommend, if you like Bruno, you should watch his Hall of Fame speech, which I was there for at 2013 at Madison Square Garden, where he talks about having to transverse and escape the Nazis when he was a kid in Italy.
Oh, shit.
And his parent, like his mother, had to ration food where they were like hiding in the mountains, and she would go down and steal like piece of bread to kind of keep them alive, like afloat. And then he finally made it over to America, and he was skin and bones, and he finally picked up weightlifting, and he started lifting weights and gaining weight and became really, really strong. So he has an incredible story. I think he has an autobiography out, but you can really get like a capsule of his entire like wrestling career into his childhood from his Hall of Fame speech, which is really good. It's on Peacock. I just watched it recently too.
So I'm on the fence about Bruno, but I also, if I can make 2 into 1, I would say the Legion of Doom, because I fucking love the Legion of Doom.
What a rush.
When I was a kid, when they came out with the fucking spike fucking shoulder pads.
Best.
And they're just 2 fucking badasses just fucking everybody up. They would just
fucked
show up,
people up,
and
right.
nobody would fucking win. Except
No
for
one would
that,
beat
like,
them,
you
man.
knew, Legion Doom's here. They're fucking going to
win.
clean up
Did you see the
house.
Dark Side of the Ring about, was
watch
it about Animal?
Hawk.
Yeah, I mean, it's really about both of them,
Yeah.
ultimately, but there's a Dark Side of the Ring episode about them.
But that was a really special
What is
moment.
it
I think
on?
it was New York Comic Con
Vice.
2016.
Vice app.
I actually got to meet Animal. And I got to tell him what the Legion of Doom meant to me when I was a kid.
That's cool.
Rest in peace.
They had the
I
spiked
got
shoulder pads there. It was
That's awesome.
fucking sick, and they had the belt, and it was. But I was like, you and Hawk, like, I fucking
Kick
popped.
ass.
I
He
would
passed
pop
away,
when I
right,
was a
Joe?
kid. Yeah,
Recently?
Animals.
Yeah,
gone
they
now,
both
too.
did.
They're both gone. Rest
But they
in
would
peace.
call that the Road Warrior pop. You
Yep.
just said the word pop. Road Warrior pop was in lieu to the reaction that a wrestler would enlist when they came out for their entrance.
Like the biggest pop you can
The
get.
biggest pop you can get would be considered a Road Warrior pop because whenever they came out, the place just went bananas.
Erupted. And they were two legitimate badasses. They were
Yeah.
like fucking bouncers and like a real dive bar and fucking. They could have taken down anybody. Like if Hulk and Animal were coming after you, you weren't gonna fucking make it. Like and
He
that's
made
how
their
they got
gear
in.
too. He made it out of like football, like
Yeah.
shoulder pads.
Well,
and
his
he got,
son's
like,
an
metal
NFL
spikes.
player, Animal
shit.
Laurinaitis. Yeah,
What team? You know?
I think he was on the Rams and he was on a couple of teams.
Oh, no shit.
And
That's
his
good.
brother John Laurinaitis is actually in charge
Yep.
of like WWE
And married to,
he hires and fires people.
He's married to one of the Bella's mother, right? The Bella's mom or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
makes him Brian Daniels'
Stepdad or stepfather?
Yeah,
What the
it's weird in
fuck?
wrestling how there's like
Yeah.
these familial things.
There's almost John.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's
John,
a big community. It's really like
Yeah,
Everybody's a legacy.
Joe, who would you put as yours?
favorites of all time. Obviously, just like Rob said, I started getting into wrestling because of Hulk Hogan. 1986, Hulk Hogan was as big as Mickey Mouse. He was as big as anything that was on television. He had his own cartoon, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. He was on Saturday Night Live with Mr. T. He was really everywhere. He was on Rocky 3. So there isn't a bigger name in the history, in my opinion, than Hulk Hogan. So he would have to be at the start of that list. As I got older, Macho Man Randy Savage, I loved him. And even now as an adult, like I can go back and watch any Macho Man promo, any Macho Man match, and I'm just
That's really-
entertained. It's just so good. He was so ahead of the
excellent as a
curve.
wrestler as he was, his
Yeah.
promos
Oh, my
were
God.
second to none.
Yeah, just
Second
the
to none.
stuff he would come up with. There was no one in
I'm
the
wearing
history
the
like
shit, but
Macho.
I can't do it the way you
Yeah.
guys do.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I just can't do it.
Space is the place, funky like a monkey.
Funky like a
monkey, space is the limit.
Oh, Rob actually fucked it up.
What?
Never heard you mispronounce it. I'm going
What?
to say it.
Funky like a monkey, space is the place, sky's the limit.
There you go.
Too hot to handle,
too sweet to be sour.
enough to get you
to the boiling point.
cold to hold.
Hot
Yeah.
dog and
Wait, was that all four?
Balance off, balance
Oh, I
off.
said two.
Said two, yeah. Who else you got out there?
Stone Cold Steve Austin would probably be up there as well. And unprecedented, my favorite wrestler of all time, it'll never change, is Bret the Hitman Hart. For me, Bret the Hitman Hart is the best pound-for-pound wrestler of all time in terms of the technical skills he had, in terms of making professional wrestling an art form, making it look as real as possible without hurting the other guy. I was just a ginormous, and I still am today. I spent so much money recently on Bret Hart stuff. I brought chalk-line Bret Hart shorts because then I'm going to wear them to the autograph signing. Bret's going to be in the wrestling universe in June in Queens. And I bought tickets to that. I know you have tickets to Sergeant Slaughter one next month.
Yep. March 26th.
Shout out to that store again, man.
Yeah,
Great store.
Great store. And they have multiple
I'm going to that.
locations. So
I'm going dressed as Sarge. so
Yeah,
I'm gonna
you
wear the
should.
full camos. I mean, you guys.
we
are
should
welcome to come.
podcast
He'll
that
appreciate
episode
it.
too.
We'll have the
Podcast
Wrestling
that.
Universe, the original visit to, what's the other location?
It's in Comac, right here in Long Island.
So we'll have that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely, we'll have that out in the next week or two. But we definitely need to come with you for the Slaughter. And
That would be
the-
really cool.
Yep.
We'll definitely put that out.
But Bret Hart is my all-time favorite. The guy has been through so much. He's a true hero in life. The things that he's been able to overcome and go through and battle through and still come back and still be a hero and still be like a good person. It's just unprecedented, this stuff that he's gone through. I don't have to list it, but those of you
Fucking
who...
cool music. One of the best entrance themes.
Great
Yeah.
music, great look.
Wearing pink cool. I don't know any other
Yeah.
guy. that's
Leather
been able to-
jacket, sunglasses. I mean, he was ahead of the curve.
Well, looks like
He just has a really iconic look. Like you can never...
Everybody wanted to be the kid that
Got the
when he
shades?
came out.
The
down
shades
the
were
road,
man.
Put the shades on the kid,
Bret the
man.
Hitman.
You know, I wonder how
Yeah.
many of those people are out there right now. with
Probably.
that
There's
story.
probably like a video of like all the Hitman like sunglass wearers, which is really cool.
I wonder what one of those goes for, like as a collectible.
an authentic
Probably
pair
a
of Bret
lot.
the
Have
Hitman
to ask
Hart
Conrad
glasses.
Thompson.
I was actually a funny story. I'll tell you real quick. I was this close to getting Owen Hart's shades at WrestleMania 10, The opening match of WrestleMania 10 was Bret Hart versus Owen Hart. And to me, still to this day, that's the greatest opening match in the history of any WrestleMania. Owen Hart actually winds up winning that match. And then Bret goes on later in the main event to wrestle Yokozuna, and he wins the title, which was Bret Hart's biggest celebration. He won a WWF Championship for the second time. But at the start of the match, Owen Hart comes out. He stands on the middle turnbuckle, and he was wearing Bret's sunglasses. He takes them off, and he rips them in half and throws them in the crowd. And I was this close to kind of grabbing the broken shades that Owen Hart threw out in the crowd. But some other kid snuck underneath the rail and grabbed them ahead of me. Just stories like that. I have tons of those. But Vin, how about you? Who's your 4?
Man, like I said, I remember being a fan of it in a specific era.
Right.
So, the first two, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, it's The Rock. How do they not? They transformed, the WWE, the WWF. So they're up there. They're just right immediately.
They defined it really more than any.
Yeah, they defined the era. They definitely defined the fandom at the time. So, and
they made being a wrestling fan cool.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, they were
really
just
made
so
it
badass.
mainstream.
Right.
It wasn't a dorky thing. It was
Right.
oh, these guys are fucking.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly like
You didn't mind wearing an Austin shirt to school because you wouldn't get picked on, but people would actually be like, "Oh, cool! I just watched that too."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It's
No,
actually
definitely.
how I met my girlfriend. By the way, was
She was wearing an Austin
she was wearing a
316
Stone Cold
What?
T-shirt.
Oh, shit,
Swear to
really?
God, I slid into her DMs, and what emboldened me to do that was she posted a picture with the Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt, and I was like,
What?
I got to slide into her DMs.
What?
Nice.
And-
What?
Posted a picture on
Five
Instagram.
years-
What?
DM,
five
what?
years ago.
DM what?
Yeah. Thank you, Stone
Austin
Cold.
316 says I just asked you out.
Thank you, Stone Cold. Somebody let him know. My relationship is forged on your alcoholic fucking rage. I love it. But,
So no, so
Austin Rock?
Stone Cold
Yeah.
Rock.
Yep.
Those two definitely. And then another one would be Mick Foley, Mankind. He put his body on the line every single
Fellow
time.
Long
more than
Islander.
anybody.
Long Island guy, so you definitely want to show him
Have
the
a
love.
nice day.
And then it's funny because I'm thinking of the fourth, and I want to kind of show respect because when you talk about Mount Rushmore, it's like who defined wrestling and
Cream of the
and
crop.
Right.
who elevated it or who defined it. So, and the thing that really got me into him was the documentary that came out, which was the Andre the Giant special that they did on HBO.
Mm.
So it just had such a deep look into what he did, into his life, and so it just gave me a respect for. He really brought that regional wrestling thing to the forefront, where it was really entertaining. It was almost like the ninth wonder of the world.
He was an attraction.
Yeah, see Andre the Giant wrestle and throw these guys around. So big respect for him. And if it were trying to, not create another person but it'd be like the Undertaker.
Oh yeah.
Hard to, again, want to show respect for that generation and the early times, and for the man himself and his ability to pound beer like nobody else. But
He still
or
holds the world
wine.
record for the most beers drank by a single
Andre,
person
yeah.
in one setting. Yeah.
but definitely
possibly
the
top
Undertaker,
that.
of course.
But Taker now, we just had the announcement that he's going to be the first man inducted into this year's Hall of Fame class, which is long
congratulations.
overdue.
That's-
But yeah.
I'm sure. I can't believe that would take that long. You guys talked about it though. Was he had wrestled for a long time. He had wrestled deep into his
Like 30 years.
40s? I don't know, 50s. He was wrestling while he
Yeah,
was 50
50s,
something.
right.
Yeah.
So that's a big respect to him.
Well, I mean, Stone Cold. Just everybody wants to beat the shit out of their boss sometimes. At some point in their life. Or just somebody, just some authority figure. It
Drop
doesn't
a
even need
stunner
to be
on
your
him.
boss.
Hell yeah,
and
stun your boss. Nice.
Man, and that's a kudos to Vince of just being such a great villain. There really is no better villain in all of wrestling history. Find me one than Vince McMahon.
heel.
And even JR will say that he's fucking evil. So Stone Cold, because Stone Cold had the perfect villain too. Just so many great moments. We've spoken about him here. Shawn Michaels was the first favorite wrestler that I ever had. Man, Shawn Michaels was a star, man. He really was.
I'll be nice.
He's had and hey, the dude. I remember being a kid watching the "I lost my smile" shit, And I was fucking crying. I was like, damn, man.
He got you with
Shawn
that?
Michaels is leaving. And I was like, no.
Wow.
You know, you could say stuff about his character, but whatever. He was born again, and he went on and came back and had another amazing career. His matches with The Undertaker, Triple H, Ric Flair. You could, say what you want about the early Shawn, but the Shawn that came back, after that long hiatus.
I thought he had better quality matches when he came back, which is crazy for him to have that in his late 40s or mid 40s. Yeah.
Great
That's
things.
a testament
Jericho.
to the athlete that he was. Kurt Angle match at WrestleMania was amazing too.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. His match
Even the
with Kurt
match he
Angle.
had against Vince, where he jumped off the ladder through the table, that was a great match as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I would definitely Shawn Michaels, first favorite wrestler. I've talked about it all the time. Need I say more? Undertaker, man, because he's just terrifying. And you know what? Because Rob combined 2 in 1. I'm gonna say the Brothers of Destruction, Undertaker and Kane. I feel like they're a pair. You can't say one without the other. In my mind, they're linked, and that's just so that I could squeeze one more in there, really, and that's Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle, I feel like, doesn't get the, I heard him say on his podcast, I was listening, he's like, I'm probably not in anybody's Mount Rushmore, but da-da-da-da-da. So humble of him to say that because me and my girlfriend, we've gone back and watched, we started with the year 2000, and now we're on like 2002 on Peacock. And Kurt Angle, man, makes it. Like him and Stone Cold, his feuds with him, him with The Rock, him with Jericho. Kurt Angle is such a funny, like nerdy.
Yeah.
Like he's an Olympic gold medalist, so he's legit. But he's also like
Angle for abstinence.
Yeah, he's such a dork. Like he
came out to the crowd and handing out condoms.
Yeah.
Oh my God, really?
Oh man, but he would like sip milk.
Kurt Angle is
he
the
was
fucking
such
man.
The milk truck.
That's
Shout
where
out
the
to
milk
Kurt
thing
Angle.
originated, was because his character was almost dorky and funny because Stone Cold drank beer and Kurt's like, well, I like milk. And
I'm
you
an
know,
Olympian.
He would drink the
He's-
milk. That's right. Yeah.
And he was so arrogant, like that was the thing is
It'll come out with his medal.
it's an overtold story, but like he originally was supposed to kind of come in as like a good guy. He's an American hero. He's an Olympic gold medalist.
They booed him.
But well, Vince told him, he's like, they're gonna hate you, and you have to lean into that. And when Kurt Angle's like, what do you mean they're gonna hate me? He's like, no, you're gonna be like, I'm arrogant. I'm an Olympic gold medalist. I'm the best. And he
On a
was
gold
right.
medal with a broken freaking neck.
Yeah, and man, Kurt
The
Angle,
damn
he's
truth.
so
Pumping 50
funny.
bikes a day.
And that was later on.
Yeah.
That was much later on. I think after he broke his neck for like the 3rd time or something like that. I think Mark Henry splashed him in a corner or something like that. He has a podcast now, and he talks about it. And but that wasn't until much later on. So
That's a
that
great
would
list.
be
Yeah, that's a great
my
list.
Mount Rushmore.